that big truck, we got bulletproof glass now. Bitch, I turned up, I feel like I want a Grammy. I'm speaking Guapanese, I know he cannot understand me.
So in today's video, we are going to be talking about the top 5 ways to get better at competitive Fortnite, especially with World Cup 2 coming around the corner and all of these cash cups. There's a lot of people that are curious as to how I made so much money by playing on Nintendo Switch, especially when I am not that mechanical at the game. And if you look at my gameplay, essentially I move very slow, but there are certain things where if I can do it without any mechanics and moving as slow as I do, if you put it into practice, you guys will be able to make yourselves so much money. And just for the record, combined earnings anyways for me is over $12,000, so it's just absolutely insane. And trust me, if I can do it, I know you guys can too. So let's go ahead and get into the top 5 tips on how to get better at competitive Fortnite. So my very first tip is going to be playing this Impact Zone Wars map, brought to you by Lunar Peter. The other day I was chilling on stream like a couple months ago, and he came into the stream and was like, yo, you should try out my map. And I was like, you know, usually I play on Donnie SC's map, but I just had a really good feeling that if he's coming all this way, you know, to gift a sub and say, try my map, I figured that this would be a great map. So before we go any further, I did leave Lunar Peter's YouTube link in the description down below, so make sure you guys go drop him a sub on his channel. He's so close to 1,000 subscribers. If he hits that, it'll help him out to be able to push out more amazing content and create even more amazing maps for you guys, because this map right here has definitely been a huge tool in helping me succeed in Fortnite. So I had him type out a litlittle paragraph describing the map because I wanted to make sure he covered all the talking points. And in the background right now, you guys are gonna see some gameplay of me playing on this Impact Zone Wars map, and you'll see why it's just so good for helping your game sense. But essentially he said that Impact Zone Wars is the perfect map to practice your competitive skills because of the 4 random zone paths, balanced RNG loot, and most importantly, placement scoring. I have not seen a Zone Wars map with that placement scoring, and that's just honestly really helpful. It really is, when you're in your head thinking that, wow, if I continue to place, you'll just play harder, you'll play smarter, and you'll really go for that end game. But pretty much each of the unique paths will challenge your game sense and the ability to use the terrain to your advantage. They've been hand selected and to offer a variety of interesting situations you might find yourself in a real tournament match. The most important aspect of Impact Zone Wars is the placement scoring feature. The careful balance of placement scoring versus elimination points encourages players to play for endgame instead of mindlessly pushing for kills. He thinks that this really helps make the game feel more competitive and is what sets it apart from other maps, and I completely agree. So this is the map you guys want to play if you're going to be practicing and using Zone Wars, because it's way better than every single other map. Alright, so my second tip is to honestly just watch less mechanical players. Now the reason I say that is, if you look at my gameplay and if you were to like judge me off of like any of my highlight videos or any of my regular gameplay, you would think, oh, this player is terrible, look how slow he's moving, look how slow his builds are, he's, you know, doing this and that. But realistically, if you watch the less mechanical players practice competitively, you will get tremendously better at the game. Because the thing is, the better you are at the game, the less you have to worry about playing smart. Essentially, when you're that good at the game and you run into someone, you just poop on them and then you're on to the next side. You kill it, you know, 5-10 seconds, boom, 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 you know. If you get used to watching all these players like Mongrel and Benji Fishy and Clicks, they are just pooping on kids left and right. But realistically, there's no way you yourself are going to be able to do that if you are not on their skill level. But even if you are, this would help you out as well, because if you watch less mechanical players like either myself, or if you want to look at some of the top guys, like I know Nick Merckx and things like that, they always do pretty well in these tournaments. They have to find cheekier ways to outplay and do well in these tournaments. They have to learn these tactics because they can't just run at someone and just dump on them. So if you watch less mechanical players, you know, like Som or Rooks, all these different top players, you will learn so much about the game and you can apply it yourself. And then once you start getting better mechanically at the game, you can still use their tactics, but at the same time, you won't be dying and you'll be able to poop on lots of really good players. So overall, just make sure you're watching these less mechanical players instead of just watching Clicks, because as satisfying as it is to watch, realistically, you probably can't do that. My third tip is to play for the early game and the end game exclusively. If you're watching this video, I'm assuming you're already not doing well in competitions. So for me personally, I'm the same way. Like I said, I'm not some insane mechanical beast, but I just play the game smart. So if you want to do extremely well, like if you're just okay with improving a little bit, I would say don't even worry about playing for early game. Just play, essentially just play for end game, avoid every single fight you see, get to that end game and get your picks. But if you really want to do well in these competitive events, you want to land somewhere where you know and understand the POI and you understand the rotations, land there, learn the spot, and hopefully get a couple of kills off spawn, either 1 or 2 kills, and then avoid every single mid-game fight and play for the end game. If you do this, you can usually get somewhere between like 3 to 4 kills a game, maybe even higher if you really pop off at the end game, which does happen. You can end up getting, 7, 8 kills and winning the game. You never know. But if you do that, you will always get your top 15 placement points, which are huge. You get 5 points with the current scoring system. And if you just add that up with like 5 kills, boom, that's 10 points. And that's assuming you don't get top 5 or even eventually move on to win the game. So even based off of just the placement points, if you were to do that, you get yourself some 40, 45 points. And that's assuming you did horrible. So make sure you play for that early game and the late game as well, as those are the 2 biggest things you definitely need when playing competitive Fortnite. My 4th tip is to either rotate extremely early or extremely late. You have to be careful when you rotate in between. Like I said, when you're a great player, it doesn't matter, because if somebody runs into you, they shoot at you, you just go over there, you dump on them, and you keep on going about your day. But if you're less mechanical, these players can tell, and they're going to push you as soon as they see you and they think that they can destroy you. They're going to be coming for your head. So you either want to rotate extremely early and stay way ahead of the zone, or extremely late. Do make sure you pay attention to the situation. If it's one of those later circles, if you just push into the middle of everyone, they're all going to spray you and focus you down. But if you rotate early and get set up, either next to like a hill or next to a house or a tree or something like that, usually you'll be fine. I personally prefer going early as opposed to late, because sometimes when you go late, the map can look at you and spray you down. But if you go late and you follow somebody else's builds into the zone, you'll be fine, because now you have their cover, you don't have to waste any mats, and you'll be able to get to the next zone and then just build up on top of them, and now you have high ground. It's a pretty good tactic. I just see too many players rotating in between and not paying attention, and then they usually end up getting focused down or pushed by a cracked player and getting absolutely destroyed. And my 5th and final tip is know how and when to disengage. The disengage is probably the most important skill in all of competitive Fortnite. If you don't know how to disengage from a fight, you're going to be screwed, because there are a lot of times in Fortnite where you're not supposed to be in a fight. Maybe they were being overly aggressive and they realize it as well, but they feel like, oh, I'm already in this fight, gotta get the job done. You have to look at it and make sure you know where your escape paths are, because sometimes the disengage will be good for both you and your opponent. You guys both live to see another day, and you can get to the end game, as opposed to sitting there in this stalemate, wasting 5+ minutes looking at this opponent. Even if you end up killing them, now you have barely any health, no loot, no ammo, and you just set up poorly for the rest of the game. So try to finish your kills as quickly as possible without being extremely reckless. Obviously, if you have a big disadvantage or a big advantage in the fight, take your time if you need to, but also know when to disengage. Sometimes it's not worth dragging out that fight for 1 extra kill and then having the rest of your game grieve. So make sure you guys pay attention when you're doing that. But either way, I hope these 5 tips helped you guys out, and I hope you guys can do better in competitive Fortnite. I know that these things are the things that I take with me in every single Cash Cup and every single tournament that I've played up until this point. And obviously, like I said, once you get better at the game, you can afford to take more and more fights and poop on a lot of kids. But I'm assuming because you're watching this video, you want to find a way to be cheeky and to work around it. And like I said before, trust me, if I can win $12,000 being as mechanical as I am, then I know there's a bunch of people out there that are way more mechanical, but they're just approaching the game the wrong way. So hopefully this opened up your eyes, helps you out, and you can win yourself some more money. Either way, guys, enjoy the rest of your day, and thanks for watching the video.